The Nintendo Switch 2 is one of the most highly anticipated gaming consoles of the year, and for good reason. With its promise of improved graphics, new features, and a potential incredible lineup of games, it's no wonder gamers will be chomping at the bit to get their hands on one. And now that we know that Nintendo has plans for a showcase on the 2nd of April, the hype for this system is at an all-time high. But amidst all the excitement though, there's this lingering concern, a fear that hunts all gamers in the back of our minds that threatens to dampen the party. Yeah, that's right, I'm talking about scalpers. I have a bit of information here that could shed some light on what sort of plans Nintendo has to deal with the scalping issue to some degree. We're going to go over this information and it may be a little outdated at this point and you may have already heard about this, but we're going to discuss it anyway and maybe find some solutions to combat the scalping problem that has cropped up in the gaming community in the recent years. What's up guys, Tactics here with another video for you. Let's not waste any more time with this and dive right in. Now for anyone out there who for some odd reason may not be familiar with what a scalper is, well, to put it as simply as I can, scalpers are people who seek out high demand products, from limited edition sneakers to concert tickets. They exploit the gap between supply and demand, creating artificial scarcity and driving up prices to astronomical levels. It's a vicious cycle that leaves genuine fans and consumers in the lurch, forced to shell out money they can ill afford to go without. In the case of gaming consoles, scalpers are particularly ruthless. They snap up consoles as soon as they become available, often using bots or other underhanded tactics to get ahead of the game, so to speak. Before you know it, these consoles are being resold at outrageous prices, leaving gamers who genuinely want to play the latest titles feeling defeated. It's a really despicable activity to do because not only does this hurt the company who are trying to sell their console or products to as many individuals as possible, but it also hurts the consumers because no one is able to buy or enjoy, in this case, the software or games for that particular system. And obviously, if no one is buying the games, then the company can't make back the money they invested into making the console, since everybody knows that the software is what drives the sales and not just the system itself. I mean, just look at what happened in the recent years with the PS5. Now I know I talk a lot about Nintendo, but I'm just a lover of all things gaming in general. Like, I can enjoy a good game from any company, whether it's from Sony or Microsoft, Nintendo, doesn't really matter. But unfortunately, I do have to use Sony here as an example when it comes to the PS5. Granted, this was back when the world was flipped upside down by the pandemic back in 2020. As we all know, this caused a bit of a chip shortage because nobody was going to work, and it really hindered developers, which caused a shortage in the PS5. And this led to a major crisis for gamers who wanted to get their hands on the system at the time. Honestly, I had got to the point that I just started believing that the PS5 was like a myth. Like, everywhere I searched, it was basically sold out, and there didn't seem like there was any push to solve the issue. Nah, I'm kidding. But I'm pretty sure the developers were panicking just as much as the consumers were. Fast forward 5 years later, and now we come to the next gen console for Nintendo with the Switch 2. And it's going to be interesting how they handle it. Now let's go ahead and talk about what the Big N has up their sleeves. Alright, now shout out to Nintendo News for providing this article that I'm going to draw a reference from. So we got this article from Bloomberg that says Nintendo has prepared a supply chain network that will allow the company to sell over 20 million copies of the Switch 2 in its first year. Now this may sound like a big number, but comparing it to the Switch 1 is actually not that big of a leap in numbers, but I guess it is a start. And of course they go on to say that the Switch 2 is slated to launch this year, which I'm pretty sure everybody and their mom know at this point. The question is though, when could we expect to see it? Now, a lot of people suggested that we could see the system sometime in the early summer, say June perhaps. And even though I could see that being the case, it does make me wonder if revealing the system in April and having it come out a few months later would be enough time to market the console. But now that I'm thinking about it though, the community of content creators, and I guess even the leakers and the rumors at this point, has done a large majority of the work for Nintendo in terms of marketing the system. But of course they would still need to do something for the general public. Now I know that with the strategies that Nintendo has been implementing with their marketing that we could very well see this sometime in the summer, since they are going with a pretty safe name for it being the Switch 2. Not to mention, they could try to keep their plans somewhat similar to the Switch 1, but knowing Nintendo, I wouldn't be surprised if they announced the launch date to be closer to the holidays, but we'll just have to wait and see. But let's get back on track with the whole scalping issue. I can without a doubt see Nintendo trying to go after scalpers somehow from a legal standpoint because they know how important it is to get the sales numbers from the initial launch. I'm pretty sure Nintendo does not want to have a repeat of the disaster that was the Wii U after all. They're going to want the Switch 2 to sell as many copies as possible so that consumers can start buying the games. Plus there's even more pressure on Nintendo this go around to have a successful launch for the next console because of their third-party developers and investors. There's going to be tons of third-party support for the Switch 2, and people are going to want their games to sell, so Nintendo has to take the scalping issue very seriously. I might have said this in the past, but I don't always agree with Nintendo's decisions when it comes to taking legal actions for their IPs and other matters, like with the whole Pocket Pair, Power World situation and the patent laws. But this right here, I hope Nintendo releases the Nintendo ninjas out there to handle these scalpers. I don't think they'll be able to fully moderate how people purchase their systems, but there's definitely ways that companies like Walmart, Target, and Best Buy can handle the situation to keep this from happening. I even believe there are procedures already in place that helps deal with the issue at Best Buy, at least. But honestly, I can't really say the same about Walmart or Target. But I think one of the most effective ways to combat scalping is to create a sense of community. When gamers come together, sharing their experiences, and supporting each other by spreading awareness, it becomes much more harder for scalpers to operate. Another example from the gaming industry is some companies have introduced ticketing systems or lotteries to ensure that their products reach genuine fans rather than scalpers. But despite these efforts, scalping remains a significant threat. But as we look forward to the Switch 2's release, it's clear that scalpers will stop at nothing to get their hands on the console, which has led others to remain skeptical, arguing that scalpers will always find ways to exploit loopholes and profit from the desperation of others. It's a sobering reality, but one that we must confront head on. As we count down to the Switch 2's release, the question on everyone's mind may be, will scalpers ruin the party for us? And the answer to that is, well, it's complicated. While there's certainly a risk that scalpers will exploit the hype and drive up prices, there's also a sense of hope that the gaming community can come together to prevent it. At the end of the day, the Switch 2 experience is what we the gamers make it. If we allow scalpers to dictate the narrative, then yes, they will ruin the party for us. But if we stand together, support each other, and demand change, then we can create a gaming community that's inclusive, fair, and fun for everybody. But what do you guys think about this whole scalping issue? Do you think we'll have some major problems with the scalpers for the Switch 2? Or will this be a pretty smooth launch for Nintendo? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, there you have it guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, be sure to hit that like button for me and subscribe if you haven't already for more content on the Switch 2 and other related topics. I already know there's going to be plenty more Switch 2 talk to be had as we get closer to April 2nd, so at this point, I'm in Zen mode, man. I'm just ready for it. Either way, I appreciate you guys all the same, and with that, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.